Hey guys, it's Scott here, and I'm here to break down if I think this is going to be my complete breakdown for the 2019 Kentucky Derby, and I'll go through every horse and say if they're a contender or not, and where I would place them in my superfecta for the Kentucky Derby. And we'll start with the one horse, War of Will, and see, he broke his maiden on November 24th. He came back, won the LeCompte Stakes, a Risen Star. For whatever reason, he didn't fire in the Louisiana Derby. But I want to play against him because even though he won the LeCompte and the Risen Star, I think other horses started rounded more into form, at the time started reaching their peak, and War Will's kind of already reached the top of his game. But I still think he's good enough that I would include him, third or fourth in my superfecta. And we'll move on to Tax. He's the two horse, and he won a $50,000 maiden claiming race. He came back, ran third in the Remsen. He near about got second. Max and Mischief won that game. He had everything go his way on the front end. Then Tats came back, ran the Withers. I didn't think the Withers was a strong field at all. And then he ran in the Wood Memorial, and he had what I thought was the best setup in the Wood Memorial. And Tacitus, ran him down, so makes it kind of tough to go with him for the Kentucky Derby. And I'm going to leave him out of my superfecta altogether. And move on to number 3, By My Standards. He broke his maiden on February 16th. Took him, 4 tries to do it. But if you look at the race that he broke his maiden, he ran it in 1:45, and Warville ran it on the same card that day in 1:44 and 3. So it's only 2/5 slower. But the times was also slower because Warville ran a 1:12.1 at the 6 furlong mark, and the pace in this race was 1:13 at the 6 furlong mark. So it makes it kind of tough when the time is slower at that call to make a faster time. So I thought By My Standards was a live long shot in the Louisiana Derby, and he proved it. But I just think it's going to be a big step up from the win the Kentucky Derby. But he has been training like a freight train, down at Churchill, and I would definitely include him, second, third, and fourth. But I think getting the win spot, he'll be a little up against it. Then we'll move on to the number 4, Grand Magician, and I'm just going to say no and not even waste my time. He's not going to be anywhere in the Kentucky Derby. And number 5 is Improbable, trained by Bob Baffert. He's a good horse. I think he's doesn't have that same tactical speed, like American Pharaoh or Justify. He's more not like as slow as Opportunity, a horse like that, but he's he'll sit mid pack and make his run. And I'm just worried that with the Kentucky Derby and the 20 horse field, Improbable, is going to get hemmed up behind traffic. He hasn't won a race since the Los Alpha Charity, where he beat Mucho Gusto, who hasn't really done much since then. And the Rebel actually lost money because I had Improbable coming in first and Long Range Toddy coming in second. And I played a straight exacta, but Long Range Toddy got up at the end and, it backfired on me. But I just don't think Improbable, is going to, win the Kentucky Derby. And for the sake of, superfecta, if he got in there, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm personally going to leave him out, in favor of a little bit more high-priced horses. And we'll go to number 6, Vacoma, trained by George Weaver, ridden by Javier Castellano. He, broke his maiden, came back, won the Nassau Stakes, beat Network Effect. Call Paul. Call Paul is a decent horse. Network Effect hasn't done, too much, but then took some time off from November till March. Came back. Got third in the Fountain of Youth. That was a very fast-paced race set by Hidden Scroll, and It was Gladiator King, I think it was, like a 50-1 long shot on the front that they just, doled it out. I thought Vekoma had a chance to set, kind of set the perfect trip and didn't really do anything, but now I give him an excuse. First race off the layoff, and came back, ran in the bluegrass. He won that race. But for my personal speed figures, I have it rated as a below par race, and they came home like the final 3/16 in like 39 seconds. It was really slow. So I find it, hard to believe that Vekoma's going to do anything in the Kentucky Derby, where you run the risk of, it being a fast pace again. And then their number 7 is, maximum security, and he's my personal pick. I'm going to single him in the one spot. My whole Kentucky Derby's going to live or die by maximum security. And they broke his maiden for $16,000. Came back, won, 2 optional claiming races. One he came from off the pace. Do it. The other one, this race right here, was very impressive. He won by 18 lengths and, just blew that field out of the water. Came to the Florida Derby. It was a very slow-paced race. But, it done what he was supposed to do. He won the race. And, I can't really find any other horses I like for the win spot too much. So I'm going to take a chance that this horse is the real deal and that there's a lot more to him. Even though he already has top speed figures, I don't think the true bottom's been hit yet. But he's my personal, number 1 pick. And moves us on to number 8, Tacitus. And, he broke his maiden in November. Took some time off, came back in the Tampa Bay Derby. He won the race. It was a very fast pace. Who was it? Can't remember the horses right off the top of my head, but they set a fast pace, and Tacitus was able to, come up the rail and kind of still, win was also in that race. He kind of had a, wide trip there. And then in the Wood Memorial, it was another fast-paced race that, just broke down, and Tacitus and Tax, both battling out at the end. Tacitus, got the better of him. But, I'm not, I'm definitely going to include him, second, third, and fourth, and, maybe throw some backups on a win ticket for him, because I can see you getting, 10, 15-1, because both of his races he had to close it to a fast pace. And then plus Q Parfait, number 9. A lot of people's going to throw him out, but I'm going to, say that he could get, second, I'll throw him at second, third, and fourth, because in the Kentucky Jockey Club, he got second by a neck. Now, that was, a very fast-paced race, and, Signal Man got first. Limonite got third. He's a closer. But Signal Man, ain't the best horse, not too bad. But then he came and ran the LeCompte. He ran into some trouble. Stumbled at the start, got bumped. And then ran into Risen Star, and just didn't fire at all in the Risen Star. Some horses just don't fire for whatever reason. We as humans don't always have our best days. I'm sure horses, don't always have their best days. So I'll chalk it up to that. And then he ran in the UAE Derby. Got first. It was the first time they ran with blinkers on. And I don't think he's going to win, but you see a lot of them, 30, 40, 50-1 bombers, slip up and get second. And I think he fits the criteria of one that could do it. So I'm going to take a chance, throw him in there as a long shot and, put him second, third, and fourth. And maybe I'll get lucky. And Cutting Humor, I'm just going to say no. He, broke his maiden on November. He, lost to Bourbon War, who didn't even make the points to get in the Kentucky Derby. Came back, got 7th in the Southwest the day that Super Steve went off at 60-1, and won the race, then ran in the Sunland Derby, and even though they ran 146 and 4, that track was just playing lightning quick that day. So, if that time is not gonna, he's just not a good enough horse to win. And another twist of fate, got second, and he came back in the Lexington, and I think he got second if I remember right. So I just can't include this horse in there. And high call. There's a chance he might get scratched with a foot abscess, and he broke his maiden in December, ran in the JB Wheatfield or whatever it was in February. Came up, got first. Then they decided to run him in the Gotham, and that was just a complete pace meltdown. And he took advantage, got first, came back in the Wood Memorial, and another pace meltdown and got third. But I thought he should have had a chance to do better, and I can't see him getting a better setup in the Kentucky Derby. If you want, you could throw him in fourth. I'm personally going to leave him out, but if you want to take a chance and put a 60, 70 to 1 horse in there, throw him in there. Of course, Omaha Beach is, scratch. Code of Honor, he broke his maiden in August, stumbled really bad at the start of the Champagne. Then he got sick. He was supposed to run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, got sick like the night before, a couple of days before, ended up missing the race. Then he came back in the Mucho Macho Man. He got fourth, but I'll draw a complete line through that. Shug McGahee, he's kind of, if you kind of follow him through the years, you could kind of see that being a setup, as that was just nothing more than, just a prep. He wasn't meant to, win it. He didn't have him fully cranked. And then the, Fountain of Youth, I actually picked him second, the Fountain of Youth, to Hidden Scroll. But, he ended up getting first. And then he ran in the Florida Derby and caught a complete, paceless race. He done good to get third, but I think he might be just a little distance challenged, because you could see that he would, trying, he kept moving, back and forth, and he was just struggling to get that last, 16th of a mile there at the end. And then win. He, broke his maiden, ran in a 50,000 optional claimer, done good. They ran him in the Hef Stakes at Laurel. He had a bad break, and then he, made a nice mental move, almost got first, but kind of flattened out. Then he ran in the Pasco, set, a track record time. Then he ran in the Tampa Derby. First time they stretched him out 2 turns. He got, third, but he kind of had a, wide trip. I didn't think he ran much worse than Tacitus. You can make a case they ran, kind of the same race. And then they ran in the Bluegrass, and at about the 8th pole, coming around that far turn, Vacoma, or not Vacoma, but Win got steadied really bad. It should have completely just took him out of the race. But instead, he rallied on, got second. Now, the pace was definitely starting to fall apart in that race, so you could, kind of, it might look faster than what it was. Maybe he just wasn't slowing down as much as the other ones. But, I'll include him, and I'm going to leave him out a second, but I think he can get third and fourth. Then Master Fencer, a Japanese horse, just complete no. And the number 16 game winner, trained by Bob Baffert. Same owners, Gary and Mary West, is Maximum Security. And, he broke his maiden in August, ran in the Del Mar Futurity, won that, ran in the American Pharaoh, won that. They ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, won that, but they ran a slower time on the card than the females, did. Usually it's always opposite. The males, always run the faster times. and then he took time off till March. I think they was going to try to bring him back a little bit sooner to run the prep, but Santa Anita had all the track problems and everything. But they brought him back in the Rebel. He got second by a nose to Omaha Beach, and I thought he was gaining on Omaha Beach at the wire. He just kind of ran out of time, I guess, and then they ran in the Santa Anita Derby, and he got second to Roadster, and they might not have been fully cranked up for this race. He already had his points. They just more wanted to keep him sharp. So you can make a case that he didn't run all out. But you just usually don't see Kentucky Derby winners not they win either their major prep race or the one before. They don't come in on a losing streak. You just never see it. So it makes me tough to want to back game winner. But I'll definitely throw him second, third, or fourth. And then Roadster. He broke his maiden in July, came back in December the Del Mar Futurity, got third. Baffert was disappointed in that, but come to find out he needed to have some kind of throat surgery. They brought him back in March. He got first in an optional claimer to Nolo Contesto, who was not a bad little horse. And they ran him back in the Santa Anita Derby, and he had to get first to make the Kentucky Derby or not be in. And he got first. I didn't like what happened on the far turn. He kind of was up there, then he kind of fell back, and then came on again at the end. It kind of looked a little bit like what Bravazzo does. Kind of reminded me a lot of that. And I don't know if he has trouble taking the turns or what, but he can't do that again in the Kentucky Derby. So I'm personally going to play against him. I'm going for a little higher price, pay out my superfecta, but I would definitely put him third or fourth. I think that little trouble on the turn is a little worrisome to throw in second. And then long range Toddy. I like this horse. He always shows up. Broke his maiden at Remington Park. Ran in the Clever Trevor, got first. Ran in the Springboard Mile, got first. Came back in the Smarty Jones at Oaklawn, got second to Gray Attempt. Ran in the Southwest, got third. He got steadied a little bit, but he always he came with a run. In the Rebel, he came up and got first. It looked like Improbable was going to win that race, and Long Range Toddy just kind of gunned him down at the wire. And then, for whatever reason, just completely flopped in the Arkansas Derby. I don't know what happened. They already had their points, so maybe it was just more of a prep, because you see March 16th to the, May 4th a long time, so, maybe that was just something that, like a paid workout or something, just to, keep them fresh. But I'm definitely going to put them, second, third, or fourth, and spin off, train by Todd Fletcher. Broke his maiden in June at Gulfstream, came back, got third in the Saratoga Special. Then they brought him back in February, ran in a 75,000 optional claimer at Tampa, just completely blew that field out of the water. It was much the fastest time on that whole race card that day. And considering how fast that race was ran, they moved to Louisiana Derby, and he went off at 4-1. You could have made a case. He could have been 3-2 or 2-1. But it looked like he was going to win that race. He raced a little wide throughout. By my standards, kind of caught the perfect rail trip. But that's only his second start off the layoff. So if you want to go for a 30-1 long shot, maybe you can make another move forward and win. But I'm definitely going to have him second, third, or fourth. And then Country House. He's my top long shot for the Kentucky Derby, and he just fits almost textbook the profile of if you look back through the years at some of these horses that always, get second, like looking at Lee, Commanding Curve, horses like that. They never win, but they always show up, with their run, always get like second, third, every once in a while they'll win, and he just, fits that profile. So he's going to be my top, long shot put in for the exacta, and I'm also going to, put him third and fourth. And, Bodie Express, he's taken Omaha Beach's place. He's yet to break his maiden. She could argue the last, couple of times he kind of ran into some bad luck. He ran into Chance a lot, trained by Jorge Navarro. He was making his first career start. I'm not sure if he's ran back since then, but Jorge Navarro was a pretty good trainer, so Bodie Express, didn't lose to potentially a bad horse, and the time for that race on that day came back, really fast. So you could see that Bodie Express was improving, especially after getting beat by 18 lengths in the maiden special weight. The Hidden Scroll just completely dominated that field. And of course, came back in the Florida Derby and, was up against it trying to catch Maximum Security. And, if you go back and watch that race, Siaz was not even moving on Maximum Security. And meanwhile, I can't remember the jockey on Bodie Express. Oh, well, Nick Juarez. But, he was trying his best to get, Bodie Express going, and just, nobody could catch Maximum Security. But, given the posts and everything, I don't think the Kentucky Derby is going to be a good time to break the maiden. So I'm going to leave him, out of there. You could probably put him third or fourth in your superfecta, but I'm personally going to leave him out of there. And, that's it, guys. That's my, handicapping theory for the Kentucky Derby. Hopefully y'all, take my picks, combine them, listen to what everybody else is saying, and, maybe y'all can win some money. Thanks, guys.